Hello students of STEM, this is Noah White, and I will be showing you how to log on to Desmos. Desmos is an app where you can do most of math on, including algebra, trigonometry, calculus, and probably whatever you're doing right now in school. So the first step is to hit the 3 lines at the top corner. If you see at the top, ignore all my previous stuff, you'll see create an account. Push that. If you see, you will have 2 options that you must press. You must press I agree to let Desmos and I have read. And then sign in with Google. In this option, you'll see that you must either add your username for your school account if you have not already, or press your school account. But in this case, I need to do neither since I already have an account. Okay. So, what can we do with Desmos? Well, that is a very hard question to answer, but to put it simply, the better you are at math, the better you can use Desmos. So, I'll be teaching you a little bit about Desmos. Well, the little bit I know. We'll first be going over simple algebra. Yes. Now, in order to know what algebra really is, you must know that each output has an input, and each input has an output. And this forms a line. So let's form a line real quick. So 2x plus 1. As we can see, the line is getting a little bit steeper, as one would say. And it has moved up 1 because 2 times 0 equals 0, and then plus 1 equals 1. So it would not go through the origin. Now, many of your math questions would look like this. What is this point anyways? Well, as I just said, it's a point. And the point seems to be 3. Yes, I just showed you a way to cheat. And if you want to check, let's do that real quick. So, 2 times 3 plus 1 equals 7. 3 times 3 minus 2 equals 7. And as we notice, both of them equals to 7. And that is the way to cheat in your algebra class. Numbers on the number line, otherwise known as number theory, as they call it sometimes in college, but this will be a very, very simple version of that. If we look at the top sequence, it says 0 is less than 1, is less than 2, is less than 3, is less than 4, is less than 5, is less than 6. This is the basics of a number line. It is described by the numbers around one number. In this case, it would be 3. But what about numbers that aren't like these numbers? Irrational numbers, like pi. Well, as we can see at the bottom, pi is equal to 3.14159265359. What does this really mean? Well, it means that pi is greater than 3, pi is greater than 3.1, pi is greater than 3.14, pi is greater than 3.141, and so on until eventually that number will equal to pi. What about the square root of 2? Well, if we look at the bottom right corner, it's greater than 1, since there's a 0.4 after that 1. But since there isn't a 2 in the front of it, then we know it's less than 2. So, the square root of 2 is greater than 1, but less than 2. I need a haircut. Hello, this is Noah White again with my mom. Say hi.
Hi, STEM.
I heard that you're having a little bit problems with negative numbers and inequalities. Apparently. So this is a fun fact. Inequalities gave me a headache because I just didn't like them. Why? Well, because there's really not a lot to do with them. Now, I don't know, is this the why you don't like them? But, let us see. So, if you remember in a previous letter, we're gonna actually substitute one of the numbers. So, 3 is greater than, well, let's actually rewrite this. X is greater than 3. Wow, look at that. All the numbers that are greater than 3 appear to be shaded in. That is the basics of an inequality. Now, the weird thing that you'll notice is that there's dots on the 3. Why is this? Well, it's because 3 is not greater than 3, it's equal to 3. Now, let's take a number from the negatives. Well, since we did negative 3, let's do negative 3. So, what is greater than negative 3? Well, X is greater than negative 3. Wait a second, why isn't it going towards the higher negative 3's? Well, this is a fun fact, but the actual sequence of numbers would go like this. In this, we can see that negative 3 is the least. That means that it isn't the largest number, so it would go towards the right. No matter what, this always goes towards the right. Why? Well, because as we can see, the numbers have a greater than sign. Now, in this case, it is kind of opposite. The point of the greater than sign points towards the opposite the way the line needs to go. But this is really the only instance of opposites. So, what are other things we can do with inequalities and negative numbers? Well, here's something interesting. Did you know a negative number times a negative number is the same as a positive number times a positive number? What? That doesn't make much sense. Well, it's kind of because of this. The square root of 9 is equal to 3, but not just any 3. It's equal to the absolute value of 3. Yes, it's kind of confusing, but what that means is that the actual numbers have an absolute value sign around them, in which this absolute value sign doesn't disappear unless it's a negative times a positive. In which, in this case, the only number that have the absolute value sign around it is the first number. But it can also be the second number. There's no real easy way around math, and I know math can be difficult. But soon you'll understand, I promise. If you need any help, please comment in the below section.
Or contact you on Instagram, contact you on whatever. You see what I'm saying? You're about to start putting your information out there.
It's still recording, Mom.
Oh.
Okay, so this is the last part of it. And I'm gonna, for today, we're of course gonna come back to Desmos. But today we're gonna, this last video, we're gonna show you some cool things I've done, and we're gonna expect just one cool thing from you that you can do on Desmos. Okay, so first example we're gonna do is a simple square. Now, a simple square is made like this. You take the absolute value and you times it by n and then by n. And as you can see, this little slider makes it turn into a square. Isn't that kind of cool? Another thing you can do is you can make these cool little patterns like this. I love these things, and I've made many of them. But it takes a little bit of time and work. But if you just copy and paste, you can send this one to us as a cool example. This is a spear. As you can see, it takes an inequality and makes a spear out of it. Now, this one is a little bit more complicated. I'm not going to go and explain it, but if you do this one, you'll make this cool wave formula. Okay, that is all I'm really expecting. Do some cool stuff with Desmos.